What's going on, guys? My name's Sebastian. This is Resale Junkie. If you're new here, my wife and I, we sell used clothing for a full-time living from home, and we teach others how to do the same. So if you're interested in making money, especially from home, remote, digitally, all that good stuff, you should totally subscribe. Follow us at Instagram at ResaleJunkie_. And yeah, show us all the love you can get. So today what we're going to talk about is why I quit my decent corporate job to sell used stuff on eBay. So it's a long story, but it's really not. It only took me about 6 months from the kind of time that my wife and I had the conversation to where it actually happened. Like, it really, really happened. I quit my job after about 6 months of thrifting part-time. We were able to build this business big enough to where that was possible. So it's not a long story. It's not a complicated story, but it's kind of a convoluted story, because there was kind of a lot of lies, a lot of BS going on in the background, just because my last 6 months at working at Sysco Foods, I just was honestly lying and just trying to thrift, but still keep my boss happy and keep my customers maintained. So if you don't know, Sysco Foods is one of the biggest food purveyors or food distributors in the country. They supply all of your famous and what's the word I'm looking for? They supply all of your favorite restaurants and even grocery stores. They literally have their fingers in pretty much everything food related. It's a huge corporation, guys. If you don't know it, just Google it, SYSCO, Cisco. Wow. Okay, so they sell food. That's great. So why I got a job there is because I was a chef slash cook slash prep cook slash everything you could ever imagine in restaurants before. Pretty much from the time I was 18 to the time I was like 25, I was involved in restaurants. And then even before that, my father's been a chef my whole life, so I pretty much literally like grew up running around in restaurants. I talk about my whole history about that in the blog post below if you're really curious about my restaurant industry experience, all that good stuff. But a 2-second recap is that pretty much by the time I was like 21, I was running a restaurant that was selling over $4 million worth of stuff a year. Now that's a pretty decent restaurant. Like, it's a big, big restaurant. We were doing over 1,000 covers on a really busy day. So here I was, a 21-year-old kid just in charge of a bunch of immigrants that were way more tenured than me. They hardly spoke English, so I had to learn Spanish. I had to adapt. I had to learn Creole. I had to figure it all out. Needless to say, I got really involved in cooking and in restaurants and in kitchens in general. And I got really passionate. I got really interested in the whole thing of cooking. I thought being a chef was so friggin' cool. I mean, like, who doesn't want to be Gordon Ramsay, right? Like, it's just romanticized and all that good stuff. So I went down the school of hard knocks. I just kind of went down the path of trying to work in good restaurants and crawl my way up. And eventually I got to this point where I applied at a Michelin star restaurant. Now, if you don't know what that means, you can Google it, but pretty much it's fancy restaurants, like not normal restaurants, okay? So this was Blue Hill in New York City, okay? So I moved there. I ended up working there for 1 week and I quit because I hated it. It was my dream in life to work in a Michelin star restaurant. I got there for 1 week and I absolutely hated it, okay? If you guys want to learn like about Blue Hill and about restaurants like at this caliber in general, go on Netflix, watch Chef's Table. If you watch the one with Dan Barber, Chef Dan Barber, that's the restaurant that I worked at. They briefly show the New York City kitchen. He has another restaurant like an hour outside of Manhattan, so that's mostly what they're showing is the farm area. But you'll see a glimpse of what I was dealing with there. It's really interesting. So that was my reality. Like, I got to this echelon of what I wanted. I had everything I wanted, and then I just quit. Right? Like, I let it all go to make donuts. I gave up my whole culinary career to go make donuts with some guy named Scott at Underwest Donuts in New York City, okay? He paid me better. He was nicer to me. Honestly, I learned more. I was more energized. I was more creative. And honestly, that stupid job making donuts in New York City set off my whole sales career. Sounds crazy, but just because I was making donuts, I had to also be a barista and help out on the front end. Now, I had never done that before. I'd never been in a forward-facing customer service position like that. And putting me in that role, it really made me like break out of my little like Key West island boy shell really, really fast, right? Like I had to sell coffee to crazy New Yorkers at 7 in the morning and haven't had the coffee and bagel yet. Like if you've ever been in New York, the people are crazy. They're literally crazy, especially like the regulars, guys. Like these people are not normal people. They're not normal human beings. They have no idea of what patience or waiting or any of that means. And if you fuck up, like if they're gonna tell you fucked up, they're not gonna be nice about it. It's an amazing place, and I wish everywhere was like that in the world. It would make life so much more clear and easier as to how well you're doing, you know? But it got me to break out of my shell, okay? So it got me thinking, it got me down this path of maybe I can talk to people and sell stuff for a living. Long story short, besides culinary, one of my other passions in life is photography. I love photo, I love video, I love doing it all. I love clothing, okay? So I rolled those two things together when I moved to New York City, and I started reaching out to people that were on Craigslist and like other photography, like sharing websites where you could collaborate and do stuff for free. I started trying to make connections, okay? I met this kid named Justin. We became friends. We started taking photographs together. One year, we ended up going to New York City Fashion Week, right? When I first moved to New York City. We were at Fashion Week. I remember this moment very vividly. I actually have a picture of it, which I'm going to try to find and post right now. We're standing there in line at Suit Supply, okay? We're in the middle of, in Soho in New York, okay? So if you don't know, it's one of the fashion districts of the world. And we're just talking about like how cool Suit Supply was, and he looks at me, he's like, why don't you just apply? I'm like, oh, what do you mean me apply? Like, dude, I'm a cook, I'm a chef, like, I'm a brute. These guys are wearing suits. I've never worn a suit in my life, you know? It's like, how can I work there? 2 weeks later, I had a job there, guys. I had no sales experience whatsoever. I've never worn a suit in my life, and now I was selling suits at literally their flagship location. The busiest location that Suit Supply owned, I was starting my sales career there. It's insane. Now, we're done with that. That's the backstory, okay? Like, I went through that. I sold suits. I did all that. It was fun. I left New York City, okay? I left New York City for a girl, and because of that girl, I started looking for jobs in Utah, and I landed at Cisco. So I figured it would be a natural fit. I had a huge culinary background. I now had somewhat of a background in sales. So I figured, why not do it, okay? Moving to Utah was both the worst decision of my life and the best decision of my life because I met my wife. Not the girl who I originally moved there for. It's not my wife. That didn't work out clearly. But I met my wife. I had my boy. So we started the business there. So moving to Utah was great, but it also did kill my creativity and put me in a real life depression, guys. Like I was literally depressed for about the 2.5 years that we lived in Utah after I broke up with my ex. Not because of her, but just because Utah was so depressing and so sad and so closed-minded. Like I came from this place where it was beautiful and I was taking photos every day with my friends and like we were just so creative and everything was so mobile and agile and everyone was cool and no one was weird and like, well, everyone was weird, but in like the perfect, beautiful way, not in like the weird like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, kind of way. Utah sucks, man. So put me in a depression and Cisco just made it 10 times worse, guys. If you've ever had a corporate job, it is the most soul-sucking thing I can possibly ever like imagine. It was, okay, so some people may love corporate. They love rules. That's the people that like the military, they like rules too. They like segmentation. I understand that. It's for some people. For me, I hate rules, especially like arbitrary rules, and I hate busy work. To me, it doesn't work. And I like to break all those things, especially just to prove a point. Like I'm not gonna do what you want me to do just because your stupid little manual says it if I don't think it's gonna help my job nor my paycheck, right? Cisco had a lot of that. They had a lot of little busy work, a lot of stupid little tasks that you had to do, but they also didn't have any sort of like checks and balances. Like I literally went 6 months without growing my business and no one knew what I was doing, guys. Like our cutoff was like 5 o'clock at our OPCO. At like 3 o'clock usually, I'd be playing ice hockey. Like no one knew what was going on. It was so crazy. Like I kept lying to my boss about everything and like nothing ever happened, okay? They pay you 52 grand a year, you get benefits, you get all that, you get a stock plan, for a dummy like me that didn't have a college degree, and like I was literally I was just this kid that came up in kitchens that worked really, really hard and got lucky because I got a really good sales start in my life. Like I really did start at a pretty decent place. So it's like I should have been grateful for that job, but I hated it. Within 6 months, I knew I was out of there. So my plan was to either do so poorly that like I motivate myself to build a business because I know I'm gonna get fired at Cisco and I need something on the way out, or like I knew I was gonna get fired because I hated the job. Like there was no way I could like just suck it up and like, oh, like put your boots on and go to work. No, I couldn't do it. It was that bad working for this place. Like I've been on both sides, guys. Like I ordered food for years in multiple restaurants across like literally multiple states. I've ordered food from every single major competitor. Like Cisco is not a bad company when it comes to food distribution. They're a great company, okay? I loved them as a chef. That's why I went to go work for them, because I truly, truly loved ordering from them. I loved my Cisco marketing associates that I had before. I even just talked to one of them like literally 2 weeks ago because he's a family friend. He's been my father's Cisco rep for a long time. It's like, the company and what they do isn't so much that bad, but being a marketing associate or a Cisco sales rep is just awful, awful, awful work, guys. Like, remember, the restaurant industry, they never stop, okay? It's a 24-hour industry. Like, it just keeps going. Like, people are always stressed. You could be really, really happy one second, and the next second the fryer breaks, and literally all of your income stops if your restaurant revolves around deep fried food. Like, it is so volatile. Like so insanely volatile, I can't even like put it into words. We would talk about it for the next 2 hours in this video. Food is hard to sell, it is hard to store, and it is really, really, really hard to deliver, okay? So there come a lot of sales challenges with that. There comes a lot of hostility and a lot of tension between restaurateurs and the company itself, where things don't go right. Trucks are late all the time. Drivers drop things and don't clean it. Like there's so many little moving parts that are so out of your control as a Cisco marketing associate that stress is not worth 52 grand a year, guys. Like you can do everything right. You can punch every single order perfectly right, get it in at the same exact time every single day. Your customers are perfect. Everything is set up perfectly, but the company still failed too many times. The drivers still failed too many times, the systems still failed way too many times, and the management failed every time, guys. Like, it was such a weird place to work at because you can literally tell there was a buddy system in the air. They would literally, out of 100 marketing associates, maybe 5 of them actually got attention from the higher ups. Like, it was so crazy. For me, it was perfect. Like I was taking over $1,000 a week as a salary while thrifting on the side. So I was just milking them dry. Like it didn't matter for me. But like, man, what a weird place. Like they had so many rules, but none of them were like paying attention to things. And then they would like try to tell you arbitrary things. And you're like, wait, but we didn't do any of these other rules. So why are we doing this just because you feel like doing it right now when we haven't done anything else? So that's in every corporation, guys. Like that's everywhere, okay? Now, pile on the whole restaurant industry volatility with that, right? And pile on with how inexperienced most restaurant owners are, guys. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, and I don't care if you dislike this video. If you dislike this video, you've probably never been in the back of a house or a restaurant. Most people that own restaurants should not own restaurants, okay? I will make that very clear. Most people that own restaurants should not own restaurants, okay? They just shouldn't. Like they don't know anything about food, they don't know anything about customer service, and they sure as hell don't know anything about being cool, about creating good food. Like the amount of garbage that I had to witness and talk through with people was insane, guys. Like it killed my soul. So if you're coming from a place where it's like Michelin starred restaurants and that's your normal, where it was mine, like I loved using tweezers to plate stuff. I loved going out of my way to make things beautiful, food. And then you sell like frozen slop to people that battle you over 10 cents. Like, it's insane. It's insane, guys. If you want to spend the next 10 years of your life selling freaking frozen chicken to Chinese restaurants and battling over that, go for it, because that's going to be your career. Like that really is, guys. Like the only way to make it in Cisco is you wait for someone to die or you wait for them to retire. That's the only way you get a bigger territory, because restaurants, like, sure, they come and go and they do grow fast, but that's the problem. They come and go, so you're always losing business. So the amount that you need to grow each year is almost not unattainable, but it doesn't make sense for the amount of effort you have to put in, right? Something that made me really, really instantly hate Cisco is one of the guys that I actually looked up to there, and he was a good salesperson. I knew he was a good sales guy. After 10 years of working there, he was only bringing in $85,000 a year. It's not a lot of money, guys. 85 grand for working at a place for 10 years? No, that's not good enough. That's garbage. That is not good enough money. And I know there's gonna be people in the comments saying, 85 grand, that's so much money. Think bigger. Stop. No, 85 grand a year is not a lot of money, especially if you've been somewhere for 10 years. If I'm working somewhere for 10 years, I expect to be making at least 150 grand a year. Why are you giving up your life for nothing to a corporation that doesn't care about you? Guys, this video could literally be 3 hours long. If you want to learn more about my experience with Cisco and some more detailed thoughts, I did link the blog post below. But I'm getting super hyped up. My armpits are getting super sweaty and greased up, so I need to go change my shirt. But if you're Googling what it's like to work as a Cisco marketing associate, what it's like to do anything like food sales in general, guys, I wouldn't sell food ever again. I literally wouldn't. If you offered me $1 million a year salary, I would not sell food, okay? I sell clothes for a full-time living. I will never touch food again. It is the worst thing I've ever sold in my life, okay? Our business has sold over 7,000 unique items in the past few years online. Food is still the worst single item I've ever had to sell in my whole entire existence. So, guys, I hope this helped a little bit. I hope this opened your eyes a little bit. If you work at Cisco right now and you want to quit and you're great at sales, reach out to me. I can help you out. If you're thinking about working at Cisco, but maybe this video changed your mind, again, reach out to me. Maybe I can help you kind of steer you in the right direction of where you can go with sales and maybe interests you a little bit more. But besides that, if this video was helpful, please like it. Please subscribe if you are interested in making money and hustling online. Follow us at ResellerJunkie_ at Instagram, and then ResellerJunkie.com. You can find our blog, and you can also find a free reselling course. As well as if you live in Utah, we have a whole Utah thrift store guide that may really, really help you guys save some money. So go check all that out. Again, my name's Sebastian. This is Resell Junkie. Cheers.